Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere in between two formerly tariffed nations. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Thursday, March 20th, 2025. Does it feel like March 20th, 2025 is just, how am I trying to say this? Like something so far in the future. Today, it feels like 2025 is the future setting of humanity. From decades ago, people would remember Conan O'Brien I think in the 90s, he had that skit, in the year 2000, in the year 2000. I think at the time they were only like a couple years away from the year 2000, but they made it seem like the year 2000 was a million miles away. It was just like forever. Like you'll never get to the year 2000. And now we've gone 25 years past that Conan O'Brien skit. Thanks for joining us. We're going to talk about the JFK file release. We have thoughts. So does Luke Radowski. So does Benny Boy, Ben Shapiro. And so do you. So leave your comments. By the way, however you're watching, hit like, hit subscribe, and join us on today's show. Oh, you know what I didn't play? I didn't play our intro. Heck yeah. Yeah, this is the Agree to Disagree show. So it's the TNAM AM Show and the Agree to Disagree show. Under the same umbrella, that's how you find us, the Agree to Disagree show podcast on Spotify and Apple iTunes. Search The New American Media on Instagram, Facebook, True Social, Rumble, and YouTube. The New American Media. TNAM and TNAM Chat on Telegram and Signal. We're on X at American_media_. And of course, if you would like to donate and sign up on Patreon, patreon.com/The New American Media. And if anyone would like to buy a cup of coffee and help us keep the lights on over here, just filed corporate taxes. Wow, did we spend a lot last year going to the Republican convention in Milwaukee and the Democrat convention in Chicago and the Libertarian convention in DC and inauguration and the Hurricane Helene Help on the Way documentary into Southern Virginia, Tennessee, and North Carolina. So if anyone would like to buy a cup of coffee, we'd appreciate it. Those are the places to do so underneath. On Venmo at Brian Engelman, Cash App, $ Brian Engelman, and PayPal at Fuzz Installment. So let's jump into the news. However you're watching, like I said, hit like, hit subscribe, and just sign a life check. Type something in the comments. Give us your name or your initials and where you're watching us from, because we're going to open up the chat once we get things going. And we'll incorporate your comments into today's show as we always do. This is more of a, we told the joke yesterday. Speaking with a comedian friend of mine, we told the joke about no matter how good you get at tennis, you can never become as good as a wall. You can never become as good as a wall. But like I do often say, this is a back and forth conversation. It's not a one-sided soliloquy. That's a one-sided soliloquy. It's not just about hearing me tell you what's up. It's about me taking your comments, questions, tips, jokes, and incorporating them into the show. So thanks for joining. Let's go to our Instagram feed and unpack what we have to share with you there. This story is no longer available. There we go. Hit refresh. All right. Let's get into all of the things. If you have any stories you would like to hear, go ahead and let me know. All right. Tesla terrorists to J6ers. I don't know if Scott Jennings is going to let this fly. Do you? Oh, volume. There we go.
Doubtful it's Republicans attacking Tesla dealerships around the country. It's pretty wild, actually. The other night, Donald Trump said these are domestic terrorists. Everybody laughed about it and scoffed at it. That video looks like terrorism to me. I mean, it's obviously an organized, coordinated effort, however people are communicating with each other, to do this to people around the country who chose to buy a Tesla at some point in the past, many of whom I'm sure are Democrats who bought them in the first place, all because their entire political worldview is ruled by their emotions. And that's the American left right now. It is one angry mob after another, willing to take things into their own hands, up to and including keying, firebombing, and otherwise vandalizing cars and car dealerships and charging stations. It's outrageous. It is terrorism. People ought to be put in jail and left there for a very long time and be taught a lesson.
So when they do it to a Tesla dealership, it's really bad. But when they do it to the halls of Congress, we should pardon them. Is that your position?
No, I've never. I don't support.
Are you okay with
I know you haven't been around for a while, so let me educate you about my position about January the 6th.
I'm so sorry.
Let me educate you.
No, you don't need to patronize
you don't need to. You don't need to be condescending to me. So let me educate you about my position. You want to attack me? Let me finish. Let me finish.
Let's do this January 6th and then near.
I'm sorry you're getting emotional.
I'm sorry you're a condescending person who hasn't been paying attention to what I do.
Okay.
Stop, guys.
So here's the issue. I didn't support what happened on January the 6th.
Bravo. Man, is he putting her in place.
And was one of the first Republicans to call it.
That smug look on her face got wiped off real fast, didn't it? Jeez.
Now, I don't support the pardons. I have repeatedly, just like my friend Ashley here, said that no violence in our political system is acceptable. But this right here, what's going on with a guy who helps our country, who runs successful companies, who doesn't have to be doing this, and now one of his companies is under systematic terroristic threat and violence all over the country, and people seem to be laughing about it or fine with it. It's outrageous. I've sat at this table and had people say, we should cut Elon Musk from the government totally. He rescued our astronauts today. Is that what we want? The treatment of this guy is outrageous. These people who are doing this need to be found, put in jail, and made an example of. That's my point.
Anyone who commits violence.
So, doubtful it's Republicans.
Yep. It's time to disband the Democrat Party. They are terrorists. Do you agree or disagree with that? This attack on Tesla is ridiculous. I've never really been interested in a Tesla. I don't want a self-driving vehicle at this time. Maybe look, how about for elderly people? If you're trying to get around, if you can get in a car and look, there's a purpose for it. There's a place for it. It's not my cup of tea per se. But man, if there's ever been like a time to support a company, it's now. I think what's happening is atrocious. I think the difference between what happened to Bud Light was pretty obvious. There's a lot of people who see the issue of transgender there's a lot of people who view the transgender issue from a perspective of, look, I'm mainly libertarian. You can do whatever you want to do. If you're 18, you're an adult, and you're going to pay for it, and you're not going to harm somebody else, you can do what you want to do. But Bud Light pushing Dylan Mulvaney, the gender confusion onto people to really promote it and really push it out there at the time where men are competing against women in sports, harming, abusing, hurting, permanently injuring women in sports. You got to push back and say, I'm not okay with this. This is happening in our schools. These are youth. This is being pushed by a company. They're really making this Dylan Mulvaney thing with the Bud Light topic front and center. Okay, you could say that Bud Light's not supposed to be targeting to kids. Okay, I get that. But there is a growing number of people who are speaking out against medical procedures that have ruined perfectly well-functioning plumbing. They can no longer have children. They can no longer orgasm, and they regret that they were allowed to do stuff as minors. And so the people pushing back against this normalization of gender dysphoria and trying to say this is okay, this is a thing that we should be aiming for. People decided they didn't want to purchase Bud Light and support that. And said this is not the direction we want to go. If you want to do it, you do it, but if you're pushing it, then you're pushing us away as customers. I don't recall seeing Bud Light attacked, going into grocery stores and ripping out all the Bud Light and throwing it all over the floor at every grocery chain. Did you see any of that? Because mainly it's, hey, you do your thing. Just don't come into my kid's classroom and read books and try to convince them that there's something they're not. No, they're perfect. Like President Trump said, you're perfect as God made you. You don't need to undergo radical surgeries and stuff. Be who you are, dress how you dress, love who you love. But if in sports, if your chromosome contains a Y in sports, you must compete with guys. Pretty basic ask. But there wasn't a terrorism campaign waged against Bud Light by any stretch. Have you seen it when a lot of people are bashing Disney for the Sleeping Beauty right now? Race swapping the main character doing interviews where she called the original film rapey and she didn't like it, and they've modernized it. They've made it more woke, essentially. People are just not going to buy tickets to go see it. They're not going to stream it. They're not going to rent it. They're not going to watch it. They just opt out and go, that's not for me. They don't take away other people's ability to watch it. They don't go in and cause a scene at the movie theaters and rip down posters and set off smoke bombs inside of the movie theater. That's insanity. That's terrorism. And that's definitely what William Ayers, the guy who pretty much launched Barack Hussein Obama's political term, that was his strategy. The Cloward and Piven strategy. We're going to overwhelm the system until it collapses under the weight of the dependency. That's exactly what 30 million illegal alien invaders was all about, to collapse America and then create some new Marxist utopia in the smoldering wreckage, in the rubble left behind. What's up, David? Yeah, there's been far too many kids who have had their lives destroyed. Go in the psychological journals, the diagnostic and statistical manual. They'll tell you all about gender dysphoria. It's something that we need to have compassion. We need to talk to people and tell them that they're loved as you were built. It's okay. You are who you are. You can feel how you feel, but you can't become a guy. You can't become a woman. You can't just you can do as many surgeries as you want. It will not change who you are. I could modify my vehicle all I want, but I can't make it a rocket ship. It's different. In a garden, there's potatoes growing and there's carrots growing. They can't switch and become something else. They just are what they are. Not good, not bad, just different. And that's okay. But this campaign of terror is directly linked to the Democrat Party, the deep state Democrats, who remember what they did to lock us down and ruin our lives during COVID. And remember what they did to burn America to the ground during the summer of love of 2020. All of the major Democrat players were participants in this, cheering it on. Even the Minnesota Freedom Fund, Harris. Kamala Harris was even bailing out the violent rioters. That's who the Democrat Party is. They don't have great ideas, so they try to ruin you. They try to destroy you. That's what they've tried to do to Trump. Oh, we're not allowed to have different opinions on politics. We must destroy you. We're going to use lawfare to accuse you of insurrection. Never happened. We're going to accuse you of all of these crimes in New York that where a civil jury found you liable for some sexual this and that. Not a jury. A civil complaint. trying to take misdemeanors and pile them up and create felonies out of them, to throw him in jail permanently so they could Epstein him. They framed him with the Russiagate stuff. They spied on him. They've done everything, including trying to JFK him in Butler and to JFK him on this golf course. This is madness. These people are completely unhinged, and they have to be treated as domestic terrorists because they are. We didn't ask for this. We didn't ask for this. We're trying to fix, let's see, the egg prices, they're down. Lowering inflation, that's occurred. Lowering gas prices, that's occurred. More Americans are getting jobs instead of illegal aliens getting jobs. That's occurred. These are all good things for Americans. Meanwhile, all the left, the 25% of the country suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, all they want to do is destroy Trump. Oh, Elon's helping him. We got to destroy Elon now. How about fuck you? Is that a little too bold, a little too brash, a little too harsh? I don't think so. If you can't use a mean word against a domestic terrorist, a terrorist organization, the Democrat Party, I don't know what to tell you. You should be way more concerned about what they're doing and way less concerned about how we discuss it. This has gone way too far. The InfoWars reporter was likely killed in a terrorist attack to go after InfoWars. Likely. They're now ordering pizzas to people using that guy's name. They're also swatting people across the country. Every one of those is an attempted murder, and they need to be treated as such. I've also said false allegations of domestic abuse or sexual abuse, those should be treated as the same. The penalties for falsely accusing somebody, like Trevor Bauer, he hasn't pitched in Major League Baseball in years, Cy Young winner, because he was falsely accused by somebody who was trying to shake him down for money. The penalty for doing something like that should be the same exact penalty that the person would have received if they were found guilty of what you are hoaxing them to do. And so, yeah, what is the goal of a swatting? Yeah, it's to inconvenience somebody, but there's ways to inconvenience somebody. And then there's also ways to try to get them killed, showing up to their house at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, brandishing long rifles, creeping around your house, trying to get inside. That's going to end poorly at some point, and I don't know why there hasn't been a nationwide effort from Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, to talk to every police station and say, look, there's targeted attacks against Trump supporters, so we're assuming these are Democrat supporters. This is the Democrat Party. This is the militant wing of the Democrat Party. Don't fall for these swats. I know you got to go out, but these are attempted murders. They're firebombing places. This is just like William Ayers. It's the same radical Marxist playbook, Leninist playbook that we've seen over the years. And Kevin O'Leary, he's had enough. Tampon Tim, he's rooting for Tesla stock to crash, but his own state's pension plan owns it?
Criminal. I'm talking about Tim Walz and his comments about the Tesla stock. He says it gives him a boost to see that stock going down.
That poor guy didn't check his portfolio and his own pension plan for state. It's beyond stupid what he did. He's talking down a 3.5% weighting in his own pension plan. I mean, what's the matter with that guy? He doesn't check the well-being of his own constituents in his state. I mean, that's their investment fund. Point, what a bozo.
The Minnesota Tesla State Board of Investment, they have 1.6 million shares in Tesla in their retirement fund, 211,000 shares in a non-retirement fund. It's a relatively small amount, but that's one company, one single stock, and that's because Tesla is a huge part of the tech growth. But this is not the first time that companies have been in the crosshairs of protests. I mean, Republicans have protested companies all the time.
You're a criminal.
I'm talking about Tim Walz and his comments.
Yeah, it's madness. The Democrats are petulant children, and they should be removed from office immediately. Let's go to Jimmy Dore real quick. We caught a famous moment between Jimmy Dore spitting in the face of Alex Jones at the 2016 RNC convention. Type that in on our YouTube channel. You'll see it. Blake Wally filmed that one. I was around the corner. All right. Well, Jimmy Dore, he's talking about this New York Times article and talking about COVID and talking about the jabs and talking about the experts and talking about the lies and talking about what the deep state Democrats did to us last time and why we have to sort this out and penalties must be paid or else they'll do it again.
Miracle has happened. The New York Times ran an op-ed acknowledging not only that the COVID virus originated in the lab, but the government officials and scientists conspired to keep the substantiating evidence secret. The lab leak theory was censored on social media because of pressure from the administration. We shouldn't have done it. Okay, just so everybody knows that. So here's from the, I'll read some of it from the article, right? So in 2020, when people started speculating that a laboratory accident might have been the spark that started the COVID-19 pandemic, they were treated like kooks and cranks. Many public health officials and prominent scientists dismissed the idea as a conspiracy theory, insisting that the virus had emerged from animals in a seafood market in Wuhan, China.
I remember doing a podcast, and I remember that my comments on that topic were taken out. I was right. But I was edited. I was removed from the conversation because I said the wrong thing. And I had my content shadow banned, demonetized, hidden, deranked, deboosted. All because of it.
And when a nonprofit called Echo Health Alliance, which is a CIA cutout, lost a grant because it was planning to conduct risky research into bat viruses with the Wuhan Institute of Virology, research that, if conducted with lax safety standards, could have resulted in a dangerous pathogen leaking out into the world. No fewer than 77 Nobel laureates and 31 scientific societies lined up to defend that organization.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Wuhan research was, the Wuhan research was totally safe. And the pandemic was definitely caused by natural transmission. It certainly seemed like consensus. This is the
Yeah, it seemed like consensus. Yeah, David, start arresting people already. I agree. I'm screaming for it. And give Fauci the perp walk. Challenge the pardon and say, Trump already said it's been invalidated because of the auto pen. So arrest him, indict him, give him the perp walk. Make him get fingerprinted, take him in. Indict him, bring up the charges. Crimes against humanity. Let's go. Civil rights violations. Let's go. Profiteering. Doesn't he own a patent? Doesn't he get commissions on what he was selling while he was banning the treatments that could have saved my brother's life? Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, vitamin C drips, monoclonal antibodies, the Merrick protocol. Nope. Had to push a one-size-fits-all solution because he was getting kickbacks, allegedly. Is that what that was? Yeah. Give him the perp walk. Give him the arrest. Does Fauci have Secret Service? No, that was removed. That was removed.
The New York Times talking.
Yeah.
We have since learned, however, that to promote the appearance of consensus, some officials and scientists hid or understated crucial facts, misled at least one reporter, meaning they lied, orchestrated campaigns of supposedly independent voices, and even compared notes about how to hide their communications in order to keep the public from hearing the whole story.
Oh, my God.
And as for the Wuhan laboratory's research, the details that have since emerged show that the safety precautions might have been terrifyingly lax. Might have been.
I heard they were like a dental office, but anyway.
This is... Yeah. Why haven't we learned our lesson? Maybe because it's hard to admit that this research is risky now and to take the requisite steps to keep us safe without also admitting it was always risky.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps we were misled on purpose. Perhaps. Even though we have tons of evidence that they were lying to us.
Yeah.
This New York Times reporter still says perhaps.
Right.
Take the real story behind two very influential publications that quite early in the pandemic cast the lab leak theory as baseless. By the way, this writer is pretending that she wasn't in on it, right?
Or that she didn't report.
Yeah, I love just trying to project it outward, like, oh, there's all these other problems. It's like, you were a part of this. You created this. You played a big role in creating this.
She knew at the time, because if I knew, she knew.
Right, that's right. I knew it.
You knew it.
How did I know it? How did Joe Rogan know it?
How did I know it?
We read something.
That's right. It's kind of like when Jake Tapper wrote a book on the Biden dementia cover-up. That's what this is. The first.
Yeah, Jake Tapper writes a book about that. Oh, we were gaslit. Oh, Joe Biden. This is the best version of Joe Biden you've ever seen. Oh, he's sharper than ever, says Morning Joe. This is the best version. Oh, he's sharp. He's with it. He's not. He's a puppet. And we were lied to. This was never a Wuhan wet market. And this wasn't a lab leak. This was a release. This was an intentional release so that a lot of things could happen, including overthrowing the United States, which occurred during the color revolution when the Democrats lit America on fire during the summer of love. They took a bad incident and said, oh, something happened here. Something unfortunate happened. A guy was arrested and he was complaining that he couldn't breathe for several minutes while he ingested a bunch of fentanyl that was found in his system. He was handcuffed and put in the back of a cop car, and he freaked out and wiggled out the other side of the cop car. Then an officer knelt on his upper back, shoulder, neck area. And the autopsy didn't. They took an incident that occurred. Man, I wish that guy would have just been arrested. I wish that other door was closed. He would have been put in the cop car and taken to where he went, and he would have either overdosed or he wouldn't have. But instead, it didn't play out that way. And the Democrats seized on that and tried to make it seem like America's a bad place. America's an evil place. Trump is a fascist. Trump is a racist. They did this. We got to take control. And they burned America down. Remember what happened in Kenosha when people tried to defend the cities they worked, the cities they lived, from the mob trying to terrorize everybody? Yep. A stain on this country. They're doing it again. They used COVID and they used the Floyd riots to launch an entire campaign of terror like you're seeing now against Tesla. Like you're seeing against all the swatting, anyone supporting MAGA. Okay? They have declared war. You are the commander-in-chief, Trump. It's your move. What are you going to do? We lived through this before. We don't want to do this again.
Organization was a March 2020 paper in the Journal of Nature Medicine.
But yeah, I'm not believing it was a lab leak. That sounds accidental. It felt very intentional from the minute it happened.
Which was written.
Because Trump was on cloud nine, crushing it. The economy was good. Things were moving ahead fantastically. And then COVID hit. Oh, and they capitalized. I still think Trump won in a blowout landslide. He was up by hundreds of thousands of votes when all the 7 fraud states or swing states all magically stopped counting. Good thing the Postal Workers Union endorsed a candidate. Oh, and look, we have more deliveries from the Postal Union. Do you know? Signature verification? Really? We've really checked this stuff. This is totally legit. 81 million votes. Biden is so super popular. Come on. So don't call it a lab leak. Call it a lab release of COVID.
Written by 5 prominent scientists and declared that no laboratory-based scenario for the pandemic virus was plausible. But we later learned through congressional subpoenas of their Slack conversations that while the scientists publicly said the scenario was implausible, privately, many of the authors considered the scenario to be not just plausible, but likely. So Dr. Fauci and those scientists who wrote that article, the proximal orange, they were lying. They were lying to us. And anybody who questioned their lies was called a racist.
Yeah.
And your career was obliterated, and he sent those emails of how to squash this information, which have been covered, like by Jim Jordan and those Congress hearings and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. And Peter Daszak, the guy of Echo Health Alliance, was part of the WHO investigation into the lab. They sent 6 people into that lab, sent them in there. They looked around, and you know what they said? Nothing to see here. And you know what the news reported? Lab leak unlikely. And that's what was reported.
So it's weird that I knew this 5 years before the New York Times. Isn't that weird?
And me. And I didn't even have an editorial job. And I read it. And then when I looked into it, I saw other articles and proper papers confirming this. You know, that virus didn't even come from Wuhan. That type of bat is in the Yunnan province, which is 1,000 miles south. They don't even have that type of bat.
So one of the authors of that paper, the evolutionary biologist Christian Anderson, she wrote in her Slack message, the lab escape version of this is so friggin' likely to have happened because they were already doing this type of work, and that the molecular data is fully consistent with that scenario. That's what the scientists were actually saying. But they were saying something completely different publicly.
Yep.
Fauci was lying to you. The New York Times was lying to you.
Yep.
The Lancet was lying to you.
Oh, Lancet.
Nature magazine was lying to you.
Yeah.
They were lying to you. They weren't misleading.
And they didn't
It's so
accidentally get it
unbelievable,
wrong.
though.
And still nobody's upset that they were lied
Nobody's
to.
upset.
Nobody I know who votes Democrat is upset that they were lied to about COVID, the biggest thing that ever happened.
I still don't understand why you don't have mainstream doctors on your show.
I had a guy come on my show and said, Jim, you should bring more mainstream doctors on.
Like who? Peter Hotez?
You're right. Spooked, the authors reached out for advice to Jeremy Farrar, now the chief scientist at the WHO.
Oh.
In his book,
Good thing
he
we pulled out
revealed he
WHO.
acquired a burner phone.
Oh. What is he?
And he arranged meetings for them with those scientists who were writing that paper to lie to you. So this guy at the WHO, he got a burner phone, and then he arranged meetings for those scientists with people like Francis Collins, who was the head of the NIH. And
By the way, let's go ahead and look at the burner phones, the private servers, the private email accounts of Biden, Obama, Clinton, all down the line.
people like Anthony Fauci. He got a
Oh
burner
my God,
phone.
like people are using Slack and getting burner phones?
Burner
This is what they're
phones.
doing? This is what people do who, like the Ashley Madison people, right? Like this is what people do who want affairs, to have affairs.
I think every trusted authority in the health industry should be caught using a burner phone. Nothing says integrity more like a burner phone.
Seriously.
And the New York Times still refers to it as perhaps they were misleading us on purpose. They were using burner phones.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were saying
they don't want to get busted. It's clear as day.
That's as clear as day.
Yeah.
Documents obtained through public records request by the nonprofit U.S. Right to Know show that the scientists ultimately decided to move ahead with the paper. So they ultimately decided to lie. That's what I can rewrite that for this writer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So operating behind the scenes, Farrar reviewed their draft and suggested to the authors that they rule out the lab leak theory even more directly, and then they complied. So they just knowingly lie. So again,
Right.
You think that scientists and doctors have some kind of integrity? They can be bought just like anybody else. Just like anybody else, they're bought off. And so what this woman doesn't write in this article is that Dr. Fauci gave them like $8 or $9 million in research grants, and then they completely flipped their story.
Grant.
Right. Ka-ching, ka-ching.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anderson later testified to Congress that he had simply become convinced that the lab leak, while theoretically possible, was not plausible. Later, chat logs obtained by Congress show the paper's lead authors discussing how to mislead this guy, Donald McNeil Jr., who was reporting on the pandemic's origin for the New York Times. So they all got together. Hey, how do we lie to the New York Times? This is Dr. Fauci, all those people. So as to throw him off the track about the possibility of a lab leak. Wow, what a bombshell. I mean, it was a bombshell when I reported it 2 years ago.
Yeah. If you've been following the New American media, we've been reporting on this as well. If you were linked up with us, you would have known all about this. You would have known all about it. David was saying, why would you experiment with that in the first place? I understand that you might want to know as much as possible and try to reverse engineer and try to have, all right, well, if something like this happens, let's tinker with it and figure out, all right, if we see this, here's how we react to it. I understand the want to research it. I do. I really do. But then you look at things in the JFK files. They were talking about intentionally releasing stuff in the air over Cuba to make sure that their food supply failed so that they could cause an uprising, a revolt, a coup to overthrow a nation. So, and you hear about Lyme disease. Is Lyme disease something that came off of the coast from ticks? What was it, off the coast of New Jersey, New York? What let me see. What is the Lyme disease island? Oh, I'm sorry. I made the mistake of going to Gmail at Google. Don't use Google. Don't use Google. I use Grok. It's way better. Plum Island, often linked to Lyme disease. Yep, off Long Island, New York, home to Plum Island Animal Disease Center. Some speculate it's where Lyme disease originated, pointing to its history as a U.S. government facility that once researched biological weapons, including during the Cold War era until 1969, when such programs were officially ended by Nixon. First identified in Lyme, Connecticut. That's where, about 10 miles from Plum Island. But anyway, they're saying that's probably not true, maybe not true. So yeah, I understand why they would want to mess with it, but the research was banned because it was too risky. If the people in charge are saying this is something we don't want to mess with, it shouldn't have been messed with, and Fauci just offshored it. They had bioweapons labs in Ukraine, bioweapons labs in China, bioweapons labs. I mean, you can't just you can't just get an independent contractor and then call it a day. Like, oh, look, we're not doing it. We told you we're not doing it. It's the equivalent of, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. Okay, maybe it's not the exact equivalent of that. It's more like, hey, man, I'll give you $5 if you go punch him. Well, I didn't do it. I definitely didn't punch him. Yeah, but you paid him to punch him. Well, that's a totally different story now, isn't it? Isn't it? So this is all coming out, and I'm praying that we're going to see some justice. I'm waiting. I am so tired of waiting. Where are the perp walks? Eric Daughtry saying, court in New York City has ended a law that allowed non-citizens to vote. The law is over. That's the final blow. Only citizens can vote. Why is this a thing? Of course, non-citizens can't vote. You can't go into somebody's homeowners association and cast a vote. You have no skin in the game. You have no stake. You're not eligible. Why is this complicated for people to understand? All right, let's get to RFK Jr. here, talking about making things healthy for Americans. I'm all about this.
Then that we wanted the dyes out of the food. The science on the dyes is so overwhelming. They're making products now in this country that have the dyes in them, like Fruit Loops, for example. And you buy the same product in Canada and it doesn't have the dyes. You buy the same product in Europe and it doesn't have the dyes. So there are a lot of ingredients, and one of the things that we're doing is we've launched a review of the GRAS standards, and we're going to get rid of the GRAS standards for most products. The GRAS standards is a standard that was adopted in 1958. It was adopted because when FDA was created to regulate food, there were foods that were generally recognized as safe, GRAS, generally recognized as safe, like flour, like dairy, like eggs. And they didn't want to make companies test those products, so they created that designation. But that designation was expanded by an industry that began taking advantage of it, so that any new chemical that they want to add to our food is generally recognized as safe and gets no review. That's why we have 10,000 ingredients in our food in this country. In Europe, they only have 400. And we have the worst chronic disease burden of any country in the world. So we are going to get rid of the GRAS standards for new products. We're going to go back and review all of these old ingredients to make sure that they are safe. And we're going to encourage these companies to get rid of them as quickly as possible. We told them that.
Bravo. America's food supply has been poisoned for a long time. And I'm super excited that we get things back on track. All right, so Harrison Smith here, he's saying Friends of Democracy. What is this? Leaked documents show exactly how riots are organized, orchestrated, and funded by leftist NGOs. Oh, really now? Really? You may not deviate from the policies. This does not leave this document about how to be aggressive in general behavior and hand-to-hand. Closed fists may be used only below the neck and above the belt. Open hands. What is this? Sympathy from media outlets. This is the most astroturfed crap. Props. Do not report this as income to anybody. Make sure funding is distributed through appropriate channels to preserve OPSEC, operational security. Yeah, this is like what the CIA would do to overthrow a country. This is a color revolution, astroturf, fake uprising hunk of crap. It's domestic terrorism. Collusion with tax officials and accounting firms to carry out fraud? Question mark. Check off another one for the conspiracy theorists. This is how your riots are organized, orchestrated, and funded by leftist non-governmental organizations, according to Harrison Smith. So Elizabeth Barokana says, so far we've gotten the liberals to defend Hamas, Tren de Aragua, and MS-13. Boys seeing naked girls at school, men beating up women for sport, no prison for attempted murder, setting fire to electric cars. And it's only March. I'm done. Oh, it's hilarious. It's only March, and this is why the Democrats are imploding. Sean Farash, I believe he was doxxed or swatted. He said, for the last 8+ years, the left and the mainstream media have called us racists, Nazis, fascists, threats to democracy, domestic terrorists, insurrectionists, xenophobes, literally Hitler, Russian assets, and plenty of other things. Is it any surprise that there has been a rise in actual terrorism targeting people who have been hit with those labels? This is what they wanted. It's not an accident. No, it is not an accident. So imagine being an adult and so mentally feeble that you'd let someone manipulate you into vandalizing a Tesla with 9 cameras and Sentry mode. Oh, people are finding out real quick. All these people are becoming famous now. We're becoming very internet famous. Eric Daughtry here saying backfire alert. As Canada tries to defeat Trump in a tariff battle, a Canadian furniture manufacturer is moving to North Carolina, USA. Prepack shut down production in Delta, British Columbia, Canada. That's thanks to Trump's tariffs, according to the union involved. That's out of Furniture Today. Okay. Remember, they've threatened to cut off Pornhub. Sorry, guys, hate to tell you, but I'm here in Kentucky, and that was cut off a few months ago. You find ways. You get around it. So if that's your secret weapon, Canada, don't worry about it. So this is what it feels like having a conversation with somebody who's suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. Ready?
Most people in this country voted for Trump.
It's a lie. The slim majority of voters. Shamefully, there were very few voters who showed up, but stop that bullshit. It is not a majority of Americans.
It's bullshit. He actually won the popular vote.
I am telling you, it was a slim majority of voters. Are you hearing me? Because I can sign it if you want. That is why you're not supposed to spread the bullshit that most Americans are looking for this. Because
people care, then they vote.
Because too few people voted. That's a disgrace.
If people care about issues, then they vote.
Yeah, well, if you want
to. So the ones who cared voted for Trump to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in government.
Because lots of voters were purged from voter rolls before the election.
This sounds familiar to me. It sounds like election denial. Is that what you guys are doing?
Just stop.
I'm just because I thought we weren't supposed to do that.
Just stop.
Yeah, that's not, you just told me that. You just said this, right?
You know, the damage that is being done by the narcissist in that building, the people who believe his bullshit. I know gaslighting when I see it and when I hear it, so just stop.
Okay.
Stop.
We don't have to talk to me. I'm actually on my way over here. So most people.
That's what it's like trying to have a conversation with these people. These poor people. Jimmy Failea here says this. He says, Democrats have gone from mandating electric cars, forcing you to get them actually, to setting them on fire. And they wonder why nobody takes them seriously. Do they really wonder? Do they not understand what they're up to? Do they not get why they're lower than a 29% approval rating now? And they're on the verge of being declared a terrorist organization and being stamped out and shut down.
Jim.
Boy, oh boy, how Comedy Central has fallen. Are they still a thing? They used to be funny. I haven't watched them in so long. Here you go, Daily Show's audience. Take a watch.
They're taking to the streets or the parking lots.
Tonight, the FBI and ATF now investigating multiple cases of possible arson targeting Teslas and
people are clapping and cheering for domestic terrorism.
Trucks. This dramatic video shows multiple cars in flames. Police say the attacker used Molotov cocktails. It's the latest in more than a dozen instances of arson and vandalism targeting Tesla.
The same suspect shot more Teslas with a gun. Tesla Cybertrucks were set on fire in Kansas City, and earlier this month, shots fired at a Tesla dealership in Oregon. Cybertrucks on fire in Seattle.
Wow, you guys like petty acts of domestic terrorism, huh? Yeah. Jim, they're taking to the street.
Wow. It says Daily Show's audience applauds. And it disturbed even the liberal host. Yeah, but Democrats are domestic terrorists. Act accordingly. Wow. Here's a good one. So you want me to believe that the people destroying personal property, painting swastikas, and firebombing businesses are the good guys? No, I'm not buying that. Are you? You're not buying that. Nobody's buying that. They are the bad guys. They've been the bad guys. They're still the bad guys. They've always been the bad guys. Joey Manarino saying, so remember when Joe Biden commuted the sentence of a man who orchestrated the murder of a 12-year-old girl and her mother? The guy who shot her in the head 4 times, then disposed of her body in a wooded area. Was that also done by AutoPen? Because if so, time to get that one immediately voided. Yep. Democrats always protecting the wrong people, the bad people, for some reason. DC Jano here saying, to everyone who has stood strong against American involvement in the Ukraine war since day one, You have just been vindicated. We knew Ukraine was a corrupt playground for our deep state, Burisma, biolabs, etc. We knew Putin's red line was Ukraine joining NATO, and Biden-Kamala pushed for NATO expansion. And we knew it was a money laundering operation for DC insiders. Come on, bud. No, buddy, what are you doing? Please, can you not do that? Hey, hold on. Right. All right, we're not going to do that. All right, thanks. You're purring like crazy. Yeah, anyway, we knew it was a money laundering operation for DC insiders, and now even the legacy media is admitting the truth. The Hill says, sadly, Trump is right on Ukraine. And hopefully we can negotiate some peace here. Trump's deputy national secretary, security advisor, KT McFarland. We now have black and white evidence that the FBI attempted the overthrow of the United States government on behalf of Hillary Clinton in 2016. This is an old video, but like a lot of these stories, you got to go back and try to put the pieces together and see how we got into this predicament in the first place.
Have black and white evidence that the FBI interfered in the 2016 election. And then when they failed to get their candidate elected, Hillary Clinton, then they just set out to destroy the Trump administration. So then go up to 2020. It was the CIA this time that got involved in the 2020 election with those 51 former intel agents who talked about the Hunter Biden laptop as total Russian disinformation. There is now hard evidence that there was election interference by the U.S. intelligence agencies and the Department of Justice. They've got to be terrified, those individuals have to be terrified that a Republican president comes in the 2024 election with a Republican attorney general, investigates them and charges them all with the crimes.
Didn't see that one coming. Oh, yeah. But look, we're waiting. I'm so tired of waiting. So tired of waiting. Let's just get to it already. James Wood saying the first 100 days of the Trump presidency. The stranded astronauts are on their way home. The border is secure, criminal gangs imprisoned, and we're on the brink of peace in the Ukraine war. Chuck Schumer announced today the #1 Democrat priority is getting rid of Trump. Do you see it yet? Do you see how unhinged these people are? You get it, right? They have to be removed, extracted from power. They have to be impeached. They have to be recalled. They have to be voted out. These people are dangers to America. They are a clear and present threat. They want to reverse all these good things that are happening. Don't let them.
Victim language.
Brian Tracy, and it's really good, but it has some music behind it.
If you use victim language.
Let me just read it for you. Check out Brian Tracy. He's one of the best. So it's about if you use victim language, you keep the guilt alive, you reinforce it, you build it, you grow it, you fertilize it. Victim language is language like I can't, I can't, I can't. Whenever you say I can't, you're sending a message to the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind picks up that you are helpless, that you're not in control, that you're a victim. So when you actually come to, you want to do something, your unconscious mind, it comes back and it says, you can't, you can't. The second thing is, I have to, again, I have to. And I'm not in charge. The other two expressions of victim languages, you got to be careful of, and it's, I'll try. I'll try. What is the words I'll try meaning? Let me tell you what they mean. I'm going to fail, and I'm telling you in advance, so you can't come back on me. Otherwise, say, I'll try to be on time, but I'll probably be late, so there's no point. You can't come back on me because I said I'd try. What you say is I'll do it or I won't do it. Or I wish. They'll say, I wish. It's a desire or a goal with no energy behind it. I wish. What does I wish mean? Well, I would like to have something, but I know I never can. Either you use the words I wish. When you do, it signals the subconscious mind this is something you do not believe is possible for you to achieve or acquire. Subconscious then completely discards it as a goal and gives you no energy, no motivation, no drive, no desire to accomplish it. So be very alert to victim language. That's a brilliant and crucial component of what those suffering from Trump derangement syndrome need as part of their journey to get out of the negative self-defeating loop that they're on. They've been conditioned through their lying legacy media, the school indoctrinators, and the Democrat politicians to convince you all this negativity and that you need them and they're your benefactor and, oh, they're so good that, oh, you need them to do well. No, you don't. No, you don't. All right, AF Post here is saying that the JFK files reveal that the CIA had no objections to declassifying information, except for matters pertaining to Israelis and the Israeli intelligence service. Yep, right there, the Israeli intelligence. It's not, I'm trying to make it large, but I can't make it large. But this is one of the things you're hearing, that it seems like the only things being redacted are things that could be negative for Israel. Where do you stand on that? Have you had a chance to look through all these JFK documents? Do you think that Israel were key players in the JFK assassination? We're going to unpack some more about that as we continue here. Oh, Frankie, no, it's not been fun the past 10 years or so. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. I couldn't do it. Now, I do know what it's like. I do know what it's like for someone to not fully understand why I consider it to be so crucial for me to cover the news, to be involved in politics, to stay up on current events. Maybe not feeling particularly supported in that regard. I can relate to some of that. But like full-on suffering from TDS, JFK was killed by KFC. And oh, Kenneth, I did another set yesterday. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll do this. I did a set yesterday that had nothing to do with politics. I actually gave it a shot. I tried to do one that had zero politics. So let me, where's the videos? Latest. Why is the latest? It wasn't live. Hang on, I can't find my post. I'm going to give you a link if anyone wants to check out my comedy set from yesterday. Content. There we go. This one actually has a video. This is the first one. Let's see. Edit title. Get shareable. There we go. Shareable link. Copied. All right. If any of you guys want to check out my comedy set, there it is. There's the link. Don't do it now. I mean, you can do. Well, actually, you should click it now if you can. Can you? Can you copy it and paste it? You should open it up in another window and watch it later if you want to. I feel like maybe this is something I could offer on Patreon. That could be fun. Anyway, got off track. But yes, but Kenneth is always cracking the jokes, and I share my comedy set. So I'll let you guys see it if you want to watch it. There it is. Okay. What else here? No, JFK wasn't killed by KFC. RFK is making sure that you're not killed by KFC. Would RFK want KFC to fry their chicken in beef tallow? Is chicken tallow a thing? What would you fry your maybe stay out of there. That's clean laundry. It's like having a perpetual toddler. Good grief. All right. How about this one here? No, buddy, stay off of there. No, okay. Hold on one second. Comment. No, bud. Here, go. Off of there. Let's get off of there. All right, you gonna let me be now? Can I keep doing what I'm doing? Thanks, sir. All right. Oh my goodness. I love my cat, but jeez. Yeah, TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, is terrible to see and terrible to listen to. It's tough. David answered the question about the JFK files. What did you think? He said it's nothing that we didn't know already. Hey, Nimbus, Kenneth says to behave. Okay? He looked at me like, all right, let's get to it here. For some reason, when Biden was firing federal workers for refusing the vaccine, not one Democrat spoke up. But firing federal workers for wasting taxpayer money is the end of democracy as we know it, according to the Democrats? Okay, then. Sean Farash says, hey, remember when boycotting meant just not buying stuff? Those were good times. When we boycotted Bud Light over the Mulvaney debacle, we simply didn't buy the product. Nobody visited their warehouses or independent beer distributors and destroyed property. The left is protesting Tesla and Elon Musk, and rather than being civil, they are lighting vehicles on fire and stalking Tesla owners. It's like the Summer of Love 2.0. Last time they got away with it, that cannot happen again. There has got to be an assault on the people who are assaulting America. All right, let's go ahead and switch over to our X account here. Kablamo. Where are we at? Okay. Secretary Marco Rubio, he says that George Glesman is free. All right. I like seeing our Secretary of State doing things like this to return Americans, bring people home. George was wrongfully detained in Afghanistan for 2.5 years, but now he's on his way to be reunited with his wife, Alexandra. Welcome home, George. I don't know George, but if he's a good guy, I'm happy he's back.
Things got...
Joe Rogan here. He has thoughts, talking with Mike Benz about the map of 55,000 non-governmental organizations. And Wall Street Ape says people need to go to prison. Let's take a listen.
Things got lost so quickly in the cycle of news. Things just come and go so quickly. Until Doge started unraveling all the spending.
Right.
And you start seeing things like $200 million allocated to transgender experiments on monkeys.
Right.
Like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. And that's just a tip of the iceberg. And then the NGOs, and then that map of 50,000 NGOs that was essentially just Democratic propaganda machine that was exposed, that was all just money being funneled in a circular manner. Things got
funneled in a circular manner. What is this? A breakthrough, according to Wall Street Apes, a breakthrough artificial intelligence tracking system called Fractal Technology maps previously hidden connections between 55,000 liberal NGOs, revealing how tax dollars allegedly flow through major institutions straight back to Democrats. Oh my gosh, this is why they're getting violent, because we're going to take away the funding. And what happens? They use the funding to pay the people to attack Americans and America. Huh. This new AI machine learning mapping system reveals the hidden web of financial relationships. The famous example is Black Voters Matter Fund, that had $4 million distribution network that was invisible until quantum mapping revealed dozens of subsidiary organizations via Peter Bernegger. It's all money laundering and embezzlement. That's why they're big mad. Not Big Mike, that's why they're big mad. Luke is asking, when are the liberals going to start gluing their hands onto Teslas on the road?
On est dernière génération au Canada, un collectif de gens ordinaires. C'est pourquoi les demandes horaires. On est sorti au Canada. Rejoignez-nous. Aidez-nous
Running a
à
stunt.
ne pas être la dernière génération du Canada.
Bunch of dorks. All right. So Luke is upset, saying we got fooled with the JFK documents. Do you agree?
Excuse me. Excuse me. Where in the hell are the rest of the documents? Where are the documents? We still didn't get them. We got some. You got like 60,000. You remember Trump said 80,000. Then Trump said, I'm going to release it 3 p.m. Tuesday. 3 p.m. passed, never happened. 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. As the DOJ got a hold of these documents, and they were redacting them. And they were still redacted. I got some serious questions for Pam Bondi here, because now who else has the rest of the documents? Because we didn't get all of the documents. There's still a portion of them, about 3,500. And from my source, the people I'm talking to, they're not happy. The people who've been covering this and studying and looking into this, and they're saying, hey, there's some big things here. There's a reason there isn't any kind of big major disclosures. As this conspiracy now takes another turn here, as we initially, after that 3 p.m. deadline on Monday came out, I said something else is going on here. Trump's busy. Trump's on the phone with Zelensky. He's on the phone with Putin. He's negotiating a very complex geopolitical foreign policy situation that could go nuclear at any moment, at any time. Someone is subverting him. Someone is going against his will. He promised all the way back in 2016, I'm going to release the document. Did it? Release some of them. That same scenario just unfolded. And I think a lot of people are like, well, there's this thing about Israel there, and then there's this here about this CIA. I'm like, okay, we got a little bit of something. We didn't get the full something. Now, what is that full something that we didn't receive? We can only kind of speculate. I have some sources saying, hey, but what we got was just codifying the official version of events here, as now all the conspiracy minds are tingling. Who's more powerful than Donald Trump? Who gets to tell Donald Trump that he just doesn't get his way? Who gets to say, Donald Trump, you said don't redact it. I'm going to redact.
Yeah. If you want to know who's in charge, see who you're not allowed to criticize. Who's that, Voltaire?
Not only that, not only am I going to redact, I'm also going to make sure that some of the documents just don't come out. Who is making that decision? Is it Pam Bondi? If it is, we got some serious questions here. What's really going on here? What do you think they're hiding? Let me know down in the comments. I just did a full video about this. YouTube.com/wearechange. For some reason, it's being severely suppressed. YouTube.com/wearechange. Go check it out right now.
Yeah, for some reason.
Because it is very important to keep asking questions here and not let off gas. A lot of people are like, yeah, we got it, we got that. No, you didn't. There's still more documents we did not get.
Yeah. We need to demand it. Did the Department of Education get removed yet? I've been hearing this for days and days and weeks and weeks and months and years and years. Nick Freitas says Trump getting rid of the Department of Education. The left says, but what about the children? We say, yeah, that's who we're doing it for. This department has, in effect, wasted hundreds of billions of dollars over the course of its existence that could have been used to help kids. But instead it was used for bureaucratic bloat, job security for left-wing activists, and pushing ideological narratives on children. Ugh. Any good this department has done could have been achieved far more effectively and efficiently without it. It is hard to imagine the kind of insanity we're seeing in our modern public schools being possible without the influence of the entrenched bureaucracy at the Department of Education. So keep your eyes peeled on the Department of Education. I keep hearing that it's going to happen. I don't see that it has actually happened, though. Benjamin Weingarten says there's a credible case to be made that any one of around 700 district court judges possesses more power than any one Supreme Court justice, given the unilateral power to issue a universal injunction. That's crazy. Stephen Miller says it takes 5 Supreme Court justices to issue a ruling that affects the whole nation, yet lone district court judges assume the authority to unilaterally dictate the policies of the entire executive branch of government. The most important commodity in the executive branch is time. Americans elect presidents to 4-year terms. These rogue Marxist judges, in a furious attempt to thwart the people's will, are trying to take months and years of time away from the executive, and it must be stopped. Let's hear General Mike Flynn chime in about JFK.
Dan, the big question I think is, what do we do about it? So now that we know this, and I give Trump a lot of credit, you know, I still want the Epstein files to come out, so I want to hit that point. But I give Trump a lot of credit for pushing these out. They're going to be examined ad nauseum. There's going to be a lot of pushback saying, nothing to see here. Don't believe that for a second. There is a lot to see here. What we need to find out is, what are we going to do about it? You know, is this just more reform on the margins of the CIA, of our intel community? Or do we need whole cloth, you know, change? Meaning, you know, do we shut these buildings and organizations down? Do we still go after any of the people that kept this stuff from us? Dan, the big question, I think.
Yeah, who will be held accountable? We need accountability. All right, let's hear from America's trashiest congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett, according to Media Research Center. She has a birthday wish.
Politicians, so I'll make sure that I keep it short, but I am truly here for very selfish reasons. Starting with, on March 29th, it's my birthday, and all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes.
Elon to be taken down. Was that a death threat? Was it?
Listen, I have learned as I serve on the Doge Oversight Committee that there is only one language that the people that are in charge understand right now. And that language is money. And so I've been...
That's what Doge is. To make things accountable and efficient. The opposite of what's been sending our country into pure collapse. The Cloward and Piven strategy of collapse. To overwhelm it with spending that we could never pay back. And we'll implode as a country. We'll fail. We'll fall. Imagine trying to be against balancing your checkbook. What a nitwit.
So proud to see us organized behind a cause of politicians. So I'll make sure.
Proud to see you organize behind the terroristic attacks on Tesla and Elon Musk. All right, Carolyn Levitt, she's telling us what's going to happen. You know, the report is that Trump will sign a long-anticipated executive order to eliminate the Department of Education, scheduled for tomorrow in the Oval Office. Let's see.
President Trump is not failing America's children. He is saving America's children with this action that he will take later today, directing Linda McMahon, our great Secretary of Education, to dismantle this federal bureaucracy that has taken more than $3 trillion from the American taxpayer since its inception in 1979. And what have we had as a result of that investment in our children's education? Declining test scores in reading, writing, and math. Proficiency levels at record lows for 8th graders, for 4th graders, at every level in every state across this country. That's why the president is returning education back to the people, to those closest to our students in our classrooms, and that is teachers and educators and parents who know what is best for their children. And we are excited about this event that will be here later in the afternoon at the White House. We will have parents and educators and students and also governors from across the country who are excited to embrace this new responsibility of educating our nation's children. I will add one more point. The Department of Education has never educated a child. All it has ever done is stolen money from the taxpayers for more regulation that has hurt our children's education. And it's about time a president does something about it. And thank God President Trump is.
Harris Faulkner is trying to get a word in edgewise. Carolyn Levitt's getting better at this job. So the left is trying to kill my husband for the sole sin of being married to me too, says Data Republican. Dustin Grage says Elon saved free speech and the astronauts. The left is repaying him by burning electric vehicles and swatting conservatives on this platform. Remind me, who are the fascists again? These people do need to be stopped. Leftists have formed a violent crime ring. Oh, there you go. The Saul Alinsky rules for radicals. Look at that. Pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, polarize it. Cut off the support network, isolate the target from sympathy, go after people and not institutions. People hurt faster than institutions. Democrat Act Blue terrorism. We said we've been waiting, based Mike Lee, for real Donald Trump to declare the Democrat Party a terrorist organization. We are waiting for Director Kash Patel and AG Pam Bondi to stop the new Summer of Love terrorism campaign that they are clearly waging again. Why the holdup? Nancy May says, don't know who needs to hear this, but Teslas aren't the reason that you're trans. Stop lighting them on fire. Besant here. He says, with Doge, I'm completely aligned with what Elon is doing. I said to Elon, people are mad at you because you're moving their cheese. And he goes, it's not their cheese. It's the American people's cheese. You ever read that book, Where's My Cheese? I think that's what it's called. Kara Dansky says a male student is not a girl and clearly has no place in a girls' competition. Look at this. This is so stupid. What an embarrassment to this guy. What are you doing, man? What are you doing? That's the winner right there. They said a male student just won gold in the girls' 400-meter varsity race at a Portland Interscholastic League meet in Oregon. Did I say Portland Interscholastic. Yeah, it should disqualify him from competing in the girls' competition. This really shouldn't be complicated, people. Health Ranger, who I believe he jumped on my program briefly when I was talking to John B. Wells. It might have been at a JFK 50th anniversary or 60th anniversary or something. Whatever episode that was, I think he was with him. I think he jumped on briefly. He says, I'm calling for the FBI and Department of Justice to do whatever it takes to investigate, identify, and arrest those responsible for the ongoing swatting of independent media personalities like Owen Schroyer of InfoWars. If the FBI can find every last person who is present at J6, surely they can find the people responsible for all this swatting. In a Breitbart News interview, Donald Trump said the Democrat Party broke themselves as their favorability ratings hit record lows in 2 establishment media polls. What's it say here? Trump laid out the demise of the Democrat Party, which polled terribly in 2 recent establishment media surveys. These aren't 90-10, these are 95-5, and I don't know who the 5 are. Talking about these issues. The vast majority of Americans are against the pro-transgender and open border policies Democrats have latched onto in recent years, calling them 95-5 issues. Trump grabbed onto another losing issue last weekend, pushing to block deportation. Democrats grabbed it, trying to block deportations of Tren de Aragua illegal aliens. They have a new one that's worst of all. Let's fight so that Tren de Aragua, the worst criminals in the history of our country, can come back into America where they belong. This is their new issue. And they're using the courts to do it. And they went and found a judge who's willing to say that we shouldn't have taken these thugs out of our country and sent them to another country. On Saturday, Trump invoked the 1798 Alien Enemies Act to expedite the removal of Tren de Aragua gang members. And the move was challenged in court, and within hours, James Bosa Berg ruled to block the deportations. Why shouldn't these judges have to convince the Supreme Court that they have a right to block this? What? This seems out of order. The whole friggin' system's out of order. They are. Oh, I think they flagged this maybe because of the music. Yeah, I gotta mute the music because this got me flagged the other day. Yeah, I got no problem getting rid of illegal alien gang members. None. Zero. Who could possibly be in favor of that? Anyway, hitting record lows. Oh, actually, I clicked it to just see what the record lows were, and then I stopped before. 29%. Yeah, how can it be that high? I don't buy that it can be 29% favorability. Who are 3 out of 10? Come on, 2 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 10. All right. If you missed it, something big in the sports world: a consortium that includes tech and real estate investors alongside a private equity firm reached a deal to buy the NBA's Boston Celtics for $6.1 billion. $6.1 billion. Hopefully the Cavs can get past them. Man, they've lost 3 in a row. Ugh. Best record in the league most of the year, but on a losing streak now after a 16-game winning streak. Not what you want to be. Not where you want to be heading into the playoffs. You want to be gearing up for domination, not stagnation and falling backward. Here's Congressman Ro Khanna, Democrat from California, speaking out against the violence, vandalism, terrorism directed at Tesla. And Paul, I don't know how to say that last name, Hsieh C? Is the H silent? C? I hope more Democrats take the same stance. Here you go. This is a rare moment of wisdom from a Democrat.
Has it crossed the line when people are sort of rooting for the failure of a company?
Well, first, let me say, until yesterday, I think I was one of the only Democratic elected officials to unambiguously condemn the violence and destruction against Tesla. I don't think you have to be tough on crime to do that. As you know, my grandfather is part of Gandhi's Satyagraha movement, independence movement. He said sabotage is a form of violence. I mean, this is not the best form of protest, and it's not the tradition. The second point is, I'm not going to root against Tesla. There are 20,000 people who work in my district who make a living off this. They're building electric vehicles that ultimately are good for the climate. I have huge, huge problems with what Elon Musk is doing. Have the protest and the conversation and criticism of Musk. Don't take it out on a company where you have workers, where you have engineers, where you have scientists, which are creating wealth for the country, which is helping the climate. And I think Democrats have to be able to offer common sense perspectives, focus on what the problem is with Musk. Don't focus on the wealth of a company.
Okay. Well, that was a fairly decent, except I got big problems with Doge. What? No, you did. Come on. Cut. Like we're beyond bankrupt, guys. 36 trillion in debt. Like we can't even make the interest payments. Like I don't know how this house of cards is still standing. It's ridiculous. So Terry is reporting here. This is a rogue Soros-funded non-governmental organization has plotted a multi-city assault on Tesla as domestic terrorism escalates. I'll share this tab instead. Switch there you go. Yeah, Frankie, you're right. I don't understand why these violent people are not arrested. If I touched a business, touched or torched, how about both? Yeah, we'd be put in jail. DOE, now DOA. DUH. Duh. Coming soon, perhaps. While the FBI investigates far-left terrorist attacks against Tesla service centers, showrooms, supercharging networks, and vehicles, the radical Soros-funded nonprofit Indivisible is preparing to launch a multi-city offensive against the American company in the coming days. Anti-DEI crusader Robbie Starbuck explained more about the rogue nonprofit with Soros monies. Over the next few days, you're going to see an organized progressional protest effort at Tesla stores put together by Indivisible. Soros Foundation gave $8 million for their activism. They're calling these Tesla takedown events in the midst of a domestic terror spree targeting Tesla and Tesla owners. They have these planned across the country. How can it not be seen as encouraging more violence and terrorism? I personally think that any violence occurring near locations they've chosen should result in Soros, his foundation, Indivisible, and their founders being held criminally accountable as co-conspirators. Indivisible founders are Ezra Levin. Wow. Indivisible founders. Ezra Levin and his wife, Leah Greenberg. They became resistance figures during Trump's first term, and their work is celebrated by elected Democrats. So yeah, it's clear to me that Democrats and their typical thugs are organizing this insanity. And there's reportedly even a form that protest leaders can fill out to receive reimbursement payments for their protests. I'm scrolling here to see if there's anything else. Yeah, we've kind of shared a lot of these already. An investigation found 5 ActBlue funded groups responsible for Tesla takedowns, the Tesla takedown terrorism. Troublemakers, Disruption Project, Rise and Resist, Individual Project, and Democratic Socialists of America. ActBlue funders include Soros, Reid Hoffman, Herbert Sandler, Patricia Baumann. Who else? And Leah Hunt Hendricks. ActBlue is under investigation for allowing foreign and illegal donations and criminal violation of campaign finance regulations. This week, 7 ActBlue senior officials resigned, including the Associate General Counsel. If you know anything about it, post it in the replies. The Tesla attacks are getting worse. Arson, Molotov cocktails, bouts of gunfire. It's not new. The left has used violence as a political tool for decades. The only thing that can stop this, in the words of Pat Buchanan, force rooted in justice and backed by moral courage. Elon says, has there ever been such a level of coordinated violence against a peaceful company? I understand not wanting to buy a product, but this is extreme arson and destruction. Yeah. Can anyone identify that guy? Make him famous. He broke the glass on this Cybertruck when the owner was volunteering for a parade in New Orleans. He needs to be identified. Please share. What a nut. What a nut. The wife's pulling him away. Frankie, is this like you trying to